Two Notes GENOME has completely changed amp capturing forever. But how do you actually capture amps on it? Let's find out. Howdy everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be exploring how to actually make captures on Two Notes GENOME. The software is absolutely fantastic. I've been capturing my amps with the parametric capture process that's in there, which is just mind-blowing. Seriously, it's so cool. I can turn the knobs and they do exactly what they're supposed to. Anyways, when I first set it up, there were a few hiccups, and I wanted to make this video to help people to set up their hardware in order to make captures. So let's get into it. I'll head over to my Mac and my interface and I'll show you exactly how I did it. Let's go. Right, so today we're going to set up the hardware, but first, some tones. Why not? Wow, I love that. That is actually the sound of my actual Splawn Super Sport head. And I did a capture just a couple of days ago, actually, because I wanted to record a track for this video. And I used the exact method, which I'm going to show you right now. So there are a couple of pieces of hardware that you're going to need. We need an amp. Yes, I know it's obvious, but we need an amp to capture, right? All right, secondly, we are going to need an audio interface with 4 outputs and 2 inputs. That's really important. You'll see why. And thirdly, we are going to need a reamp box in order to send a signal to our amplifier, which is going to create the profile. Oh, by the way, we need tons of cables as well. Yeah, this is quite cable intensive, but that's okay. We have cables, right? We're guitar players. All right, over here in Two Notes Capture Studio, I'm going to go over to one of my previous sessions, my Splawn Super Sport session, and I'm going to show you my audio configuration. This is the really important part, and it actually caught me out when I first tried to do captures, just couldn't get it working, but the guys at Two Notes were absolutely amazing. Thank you to those guys, the tech team, and everyone else as well who was in contact with me, who helped me to get this sorted out. And I wanted to pass it forward to you guys so that you can get your systems set up to do your captures. So over here, you can see what my audio configuration is. I use a Universal Audio Apollo X8P interface, and it has 8 inputs, 8 outputs. So I've got plenty of ins and outs which I can use. So my playback is my monitors left and right. It is basically the output 1 and 2 on my interface. So you need that for when the capture is done and you're doing the playback to check the capture is done properly. Now you'll see down here that we have a loopback and also a capture. Let's talk about the loopback first, because this totally caught me out. Yes. But thankfully I got it sorted out and it all works now. So for this, I'm going out of output 5 on my Apollo and then going back into input number 6 on the Apollo. This is the important part. This has to be a physical connection. You have to attach a wire from one output to the input. So I have a wire going from this output number 5, my line number 5, and then physically going into input number 6 here, line number 6. That's the part which I got wrong initially. I was trying to do it as a virtual setup. Does not work. It needs that physical connection in order to send a signal which checks the latency of your audio interface. Super, super important. So make sure that you set that up correctly. Make sure you have an interface with 4 outputs and 2 inputs. And then we have the capture side. So what I'm doing is I'm going out of output number 8, so line number 8 on my Apollo. I use an IK Multimedia Tonex reamp box. You can use any that you have or any that you like. This is just the one that I have, so I use it. Okay, so what happens is this line goes into that reamp box, and it does some jiggery pokery in there to make sure that the signal, which is then output from there, which is going to go into the input of your amplifier, is the correct signal. So out of that reamp box, you need to go into the input on your guitar amplifier. Then from the output of your amplifier, you either need to go into a guitar cab or a load box. I go into a custom load box, which is back there in the studio. And then from there, I come back into input number 1 on my audio interface. So it creates a loop. The computer's actually sending a signal to my amplifier. The amplifier then hears a signal like somebody's playing through it. So it's going kind of, yeah, someone's playing through me. Then that signal is then going from the output into my load box and then back into my interface, my Mac, and the software, where it's recorded as a file. And this is really cool how this happens. It literally is a bit of wizardry here. So that's the hardware setup. It's really important that you follow those steps. And like I said, the really important part is doing the loop back here. Make sure it's a physical connection. All right, that's the hardware done. Let's quickly see how this actually works. My amp is turned on. I'm going to do a capture of my EVH5150 6L6 amp, the blue channel. Now in my studio, a lot of the amps are actually hooked into a KHE amp switcher. So I'm going into the front end of the KHE. But when you're hooking it up, you would probably hook up your reamp box to the input on your amplifier. Okay, over here in Two Notes Capture Studio, I'm going to create a new parametric capture and I'm going to rename it JP EVH 5153 blue. And I'll select high gain and do continue. Now here we can add all of our device knobs. I've just got the 5 knobs on there. There's the gain, the bass, middle, treble, and then the volume. That's it. So that's what we're going to add in here. So I'll click add and I'll go with the gain here and I'm going to name it gain. Then the EQ. So we have a tone stack here. So when you do this, you can put all of the individual knobs into there and you basically add as many knobs as you want. So obviously we have 3 tone stack knobs, the bass, middle, and the treble. So that's what I'm going to add in here. And we'll name that treble. And then finally, I'm going to do a master volume here and call it volume, because that's what it's called on the amp. And that's my capture template done. And then we'll just create the project and save it somewhere. I'm just going to save it in the default folder here. Right, here's where the capture process actually starts. So you're going to see all the hardware in action now. So when I click start capture, you'll see this loopback and this capture. So what's happening? The loop that we created for the loopback, remember, from that output 5 into the input 6, that's going to send a signal into here. And then the second loop that we created from the output on my Apollo to the reamp box, then into the amp, then into the load box, and then back into my Apollo, you're going to see that signal here. So when I click this start level check, you'll see both of these meters going up and down. One here, one here. That's important. They need to both go up and down. So let's check it out. Did you hear that? Okay, we had the loop back going on here, which was that little cable from the back of my Apollo back into the input on the Apollo. And then the capture was actually the signal going through my amp. And in the room, you could probably hear my load box going absolutely mental because there's a lot of signal going through there. And as you can see here, it says a level check passed. It needs to make sure that the levels are correct so that when it does the capture process, everything works just right. So when I press continue, it says ready to proceed. Yes, I am. And now we've got our capture process. Now I'm not going to go through all of this because it will take about 25 minutes to do the entire capture and then a couple of hours for the file to actually render and create my amp model. But now you basically go through all of this and it tells you exactly what to do. Put the gain on 0, put everything else on 5, and then as you go through it, you basically just go through the knobs in every single position, 1 to 10. And once you've done all of those captures, then it basically allows you to render the amp model. which is very cool. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go through this whole process offline, so not on video because it will take far too long to do the entire thing. But that's how you do it. Once you've done all of that, then it allows you to go into the training process and create your model. So when you heard me earlier playing through a capture of my spawn, this is exactly what I went through in order to create that model. And boy, it sounds great and it reacts like my amp reacts. And when I do my 5150, it's going to react in exactly the same way that the amp does as well. Hopefully that will help you guys to set up your hardware to do the capture process. I know a lot of people do struggle with this a little bit initially, but once it's set up, my advice is leave it exactly like that so you can rinse and repeat whenever you want. That's exactly how I do it in my studio. It works every single time and I don't have to keep plugging in, unplugging, etc., etc. Bliss. All right, I think we should hear some of the tones, right? So I captured some tones earlier and you're going to hear that on the track in just a second. If you enjoyed this one, please do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification so you know when future videos come out. Also, please do give it a like and a hype, and I would love to hear your thoughts about amp captures, genome, and all things guitar really. So leave a comment and let's get a conversation going. Alrighty guys and girls, here's the track. These are my actual amps. This is kind of crazy. Yeah, right here inside GENOME. Wow. And all of the knobs work like they're supposed to. Yay! All right, have a great day and I'll see you soon with another one. Bye for now.